Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Sir Firdaus bin Daud, my lecturer. My name is Husna Natasha Miti Rahmat, matrix number 2020-874138 from class MC110-4H. So today I will make my chapter presentation for the chapter Communication Ethics for Manager. So before we dive into my chapter presentation, I will make a brief and short definition about communication and ethics. So what is communication? Communication is the act or process of communicating, the imparting or interchange of thoughts, opinions, or information by using speech, writings, or signs. Which means, if we are talking to our family or friends, with exchanging our information using speech or writing, that is communication. So next is what is ethics? Ethics is a system of moral principles, deals with value relating to human conduct with respect to the rightness and wrongness of certain actions. The next slide is the meaning of business ethics made by Manuel Velquez from Santa Clara University, says it is the application of what is good and right to the assortment of institutions, technologies, activities, and pursuits which we call business. The next slide is about integrity in business. The Hudson Institute have made a survey for the workers across the US. So there are 3 points that they have received from the survey. They received 3,000 survey from the workers across US. The survey is about their experience and attitudes of their senior leaders, and the survey says less than half said they believe their senior leaders are people of high integrity. In a recent poll, 53% of about 1,800 communication professionals said top management is an organization's concern. Their other responses, however, revealed that employees may be sending mixed messages. So for the next slide, I will show the result of the survey. So for the first question, which is discussion of ethical or unethical conduct is encouraged, 46% agreed, 28% undecided, and 26% disagreed. The second question is unethical behavior that results in personal gain is reprimanded. 68% agreed, 23% undecided, and 9% disagreed. And the last question is unethical behavior that results in corporate gain is reprimanded. 51% agreed, 36% undecided, and 13% disagreed. So the next slide is the 3 levels of inquiry in communication ethics. There are the individual, the organization, and the economy. So I will discuss the individual level first. Managers and business owners should be aware of the ethical standards within their own organizations. Individuals may have a very different set of ethical standards from their employers. Managers and businesses should consider this to manage potential conflicts. The second one is the organization, which ethical standards are embedded in the policies and procedures of an organization. These policies help a business to respond to changing pressures in the most effective way. And the last one is the economy. At an economy level, ethics are defined and influenced by the wider operating environment in which a company operates. Factors such as political pressures, economic conditions, and social attitudes to certain businesses can influence standards and policies. The next slide is 3 levels of decision making. There are 3, which is a moral point of view, an economic point of view, and a legal point of view. According to the moral point of view, individuals occasionally need to put their own interests aside and act in the interest of others. For the economic point of view, we have to view all ethical behavior also according to the economic point of view, which all decisions must be made in accordance with the current modernized way as how we are living now. And lastly, the legal point of view. Though there may be some gray area in the law, this aspect is largely black and white. That means all decisions must be based on the law. Next slide is 4 resources for decision making. The first one is proposal, specific and action oriented, observation, specific and descriptive, value judgment, general and action oriented, assumption, general and descriptive. The next slide is 3 kinds of moral principles. There are 3 kinds, which is utilitarianism, rights, and justice. I will discuss the utilitarianism first. Utilitarian ethics focuses on maximizing the greatest good for the most number of people. Utilitarianism acknowledges that many actions result in good consequences for some but bad consequences for others. Next is the rights. The rights approaches focuses on respect for human dignity. This approach holds that our dignity is based on our ability to choose freely how we live our life and that we have a moral right to respect for our choices as free, equal, and rational people, and a moral duty to respect others in the same way. And lastly is the justice approach. The justice view of ethics endeavors to treat everyone fairly and impartially. The next slide is the characteristic of moral principles. They have serious consequences for human well-being. Their validity rests on the adequacy of the reasons used to support and justify them. They override self-interest and they are based on impartial considerations. The next slide shows the nature of moral judgment. There are two types of moral judgments. First one is normative judgments, which is conclusions involving values, and the second one is non-normative judgment, which is conclusions that are value neutral. Next is making moral judgment. There are 7 ways to make moral judgment. The first one is moral awareness. The next one is moral imagination. The third one is moral evaluations. The fourth one is moral identification and ordering. The fifth one is tolerating moral disagreement and ambiguity. The sixth one is integrating managerial and moral competence, and lastly, a sense of moral obligation. The next slide is how we can apply ethical standards to communication. So the first ethical standards that we can apply in communication is oral communication. Oral communication is the exchange of information and ideas through spoken word. The second one is organization policies. The third one is correspondence. The fourth one is ritual ceremonies and celebration. The fifth one is the slogan, symbol, corporate credos. The sixth one is evaluation, promotion, and rewards. The next one is interaction with other organizations. And lastly, interaction with the government, the press, and the public. So that's my last slide for my presentation. Thank you for lending your ears. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.